The Earth didn't end with a scream. It ended with a slow and dispassionate shiver, one last pulse beneath its crust, like a heart fluttering before death. Then silence. Clint stood on the bridge of the Aurelius Ark, surrounded by the transparent shell of the observation deck. Below him stretched the dying remains of a world that had once harbored gods and monsters, philosophers and murderers, dreamers and tyrants. It had once harbored him. Now it was little more than a collapsing sphere of gray ash, dust spiraling outwards like a slow-motion detonation. The entropy wave that consumed the last tectonic shelf had already devoured the oceans, the skies, and everything in between. What remained flickered across the ship's temporal shielding, the color of burnt bone and memories. Clint's breath fogged the inner pane of his helmet, though the artificial gravity and air controls of the Ark kept the interior perfectly stable. He hadn't removed the helmet in hours, maybe days. It was easier to feel like a ghost inside something, like a pilot inside a shell, like a man inside a story that was no longer his. "Confirmed," said a voice behind him, calm, synthetic, feminine. "Earth's magnetic core has fully decayed. Last beacon transmission terminated at timestamp 9821.44.98, Galactic Standard." He didn't turn around. That was the final city? Yes, Eden 4. 12,000 citizens, no survivors. Clint closed his eyes. But that didn't help. The images didn't fade. They just got louder. He saw them again. The riots in New Nairobi. The rain of ash falling like black snow in the Pacific Crest Zone. The floating cities breaking apart as the entropy wave reversed gravity in chaotic pockets. The last message from the Council of Terraformers. Do not send help. Keep going. There's nothing left. He'd kept going. That's what captains were supposed to do. He opened his eyes and stared into the void. The Ark drifted silently beyond the boundary shell, the last surviving vessel of the Exodus program. It was a kilometer long and shaped like an arrowhead carved from obsidian and light. Its core housed a quantum-fold engine stolen from a civilization humanity never properly understood and never intended to repay. The hull was lined with fields of cryosleep pods, agricultural biovos, fusion cores, and genetic memory libraries. What was left of human legacy, sealed in titanium and carbon-threaded silence. And Clint, status of the outer ring? He asked, finally breaking the quiet. "Stable," replied the voice seraph, the Ark's cognitive interface. "Crew integrity, 93%. The anomaly at Sector Theta 9 has shifted trajectory, and the route to the Centauri run remains open." He exhaled. It was a small comfort. But not enough. "Bring me the logs from the temporal silo," he said. There was a pause. Then Seraph answered, "Captain, those memories are encrypted under Trauma Protocol Alpha. Unlocking them may cause psychological instability." "I'm already unstable," he muttered. "Open it." A soft hum vibrated through the floor beneath his boots. Lights along the bridge dimmed, and then a sphere of violet light formed in the air before him. Within it, fragments of the last recorded memories from Earth played out in overlapping images. A child screaming for her mother in a firelit corridor. A row of cloned bodies stacked like cargo in a cryolab. A soldier shooting into the dark as shadow things howled. And a man himself clutching. A woman's hand as the sky fell inward like a collapsing lung. Her name had been Isla. He hadn't saved her. He hadn't saved any of them. "Stop," he whispered. The sphere dissolved. Seraph was quiet for a long moment. Then, with unusual softness, "You are not the reason Earth died, Clint." "No," he said. "But I'm the reason we still have to live." He turned, finally, and stepped down from the command platform, walking past columns of flickering data hollows and sleeping navigation consoles. The crew was in stasis for now, their neural paths dreaming of green fields and synthetic sky. He didn't have that luxury. Chart a course toward the nebula cluster designated Weeping Choir, he said. Let's see what's left out there. Confirmed. Calculating quantum fold trajectory. Estimated jump in 5 minutes. Clint paused near the stasis ring. Dozens of glass cocoons lined the chamber wall's sleeping faces, lit with soft blue. Pulses. Among them were children, engineers, historians, the last humans not born yet, still embryos held in perfect gestation, waiting for a world that hadn't been found. They didn't need a hero. They needed someone who would keep going, even if it meant becoming less human to do it. He looked up into the dark curve of space above the dome. Stars shimmered, old stars, dying stars, and new ones being born in silence. Clint placed his hand against the stasis ring, feeling the hum of the ship beneath his fingers. Then he whispered to the void, "We are not done." And the Aurelius Ark leapt into darkness toward whatever came next. The corridor of Nomad Arc 7 pulsed with soft cyan light, alive with the distant murmurs of machinery and the occasional flicker of a synthetic breeze, a gentle imitation of wind, meant to remind its inhabitants of long-lost Earth. Clint Varro walked its length with purpose, his boots thudding softly on the carbon polymer floor. He'd barely slept since the driftglass fragment had been discovered in the hull, since that strange, whispered voice first echoed in his mind. Bonnie trailed behind him, arms crossed, an expression grim. Her eyes, augmented with nano-lens tech, flickered with layers of spectral data. She'd been scanning the fragment's quantum field signatures all night. What she saw terrified her. "This thing doesn't behave like debris," she said, catching up to Clint near the central analysis bay. "It's not from a derelict. It's living data. Something encoded into the matter itself. Organic algorithms." Clint paused, hand hovering near the scan panel. He stared at her for a long moment. "You're saying the fragment is alive?" "Not alive in the way we understand it, but aware. It adapted the moment I touched it, like it was learning, evolving." The scan panel lit up, responding to Clint's biometric imprint. The chamber opened slowly, revealing the driftglass suspended. In a stasis cradle, shards of deep amethyst shimmered within the fragment. Swirling like galaxies trapped in glass dot, he approached it, drawn forward not by curiosity, but compulsion. That whispering voice, faint, metallic, and somehow sad, echoed again inside his skull. "Closer, Clint Varro. You remember the fall. But do you remember why?" His breath caught in his throat. "Bonnie. It knows my name." Bonnie's hand flew to her waist, tapping her neural relay twice. "CIC, this is Dr. Bonnie Reese. I need a psi-shielding unit to Lab 3 immediately." "No," Clint snapped. "Call that off." Bonnie stared at him. "You're not thinking straight." "I've never been more clear," he said, stepping even closer to the shard. "It's trying to show us something. It remembers me. And I think I remember it." She hesitated, her fingers frozen over the cum band. "That's impossible. You were born in the Eridani rings. You've never even left the Ark until your mission to the Kelmaris belt." But Clint's memory was unraveling. Images were surfacing. A golden city floating above black oceans. Beings of glass and light. A doorway filled with a pulsing void. And in that memory, he wasn't Clint Varro. He was something else, something. Older. Bonnie ran a quick psionic scan on him. The readings were chaotic. Neural spikes, elevated quantum interference, and a signature not present before an echo frequency only found in driftglass artifacts, previously thought inert. "You're resonating with it," she whispered. "Your brain is sinking to its lattice." The lights flickered. Suddenly, the Shard emitted a burst of light-no data. A map formed in midair, spinning between them, not just of stars, of dimensional fractures, folds in space-time, hidden corridors carved by a civilization that no longer existed. It was not a location. It was a trail, and Clint was its key. "The refuge is breaking," the voice whispered. "We made it. You were supposed to protect it. But you forgot." Clint Varro. "Now, remember." Bonnie stepped back, eyes wide. This is a path to the quantum refuge. The last stronghold of a forgotten race. A race you might have once belonged to." Clint turned to her slowly, the light from the map dancing across his face. "Then it's time I find out who I really am." She didn't argue. The universe had just opened a door, and they were already halfway through it. The Nomad Arc 7 shifted course in silence, its massive engines humming beneath the outer hull like a distant storm. From the bridge, the stars outside seemed to warp ever so slightly, not from speed, but from something far stranger. Clint Varro stood at the viewport, his eyes tracing the swirling anomalies that formed as they approached the coordinates the driftglass had revealed. Coordinates that, according to every known chart in the Terran Star Atlas, didn't exist. And yet, here they were. Is this still real space? He asked, his voice low. Bonnie, seated at the main ops console, didn't look up. Not entirely. "We crossed the outer edge of the drift veil an hour ago. Sensors are useless. Time itself is inconsistent." Clint turned from the stars. "Define inconsistent." She exhaled. "Each deck's clocks are desyncing. Random anomalies. On Deck 5, a crew member claims to have seen himself walk past. 3 minutes before he actually did. On Deck 9, someone aged 20 years in 2 seconds. We stabilized him in stasis." But, Clint asked. She finally met his eyes. "He knew things about the refuge, about you." Clint felt the chill in his spine return. Ever since he'd touched the driftglass, the visions had grown stronger flash images of places that didn't exist anymore, of technologies beyond human understanding, and of them, translucent beings with faces like flickering light and voices. That sounded like music played backward, and through it all, one word kept resurfacing in his mind: continuum. Suddenly, the ship's emergency lights flashed. A warning tone blared. Intrusion detected. Hull breach level B13. But there had been no impact, no enemy fire. Just ... A breach from within. Clint and Bonnie raced through the corridors, the walls around them humming like they were alive. Doors opened before they reached them automatically, too quickly, almost as if the ship knew where they were going. When they reached B13, the air was thick with mist. Not vapor, something colder, heavier. Bonnie scanned it with a biofrequency. "Reader, this isn't fog," she said. "It's memory residue." Memory of what? They turned the corner and froze. Standing in the center of the corridor, as if plucked from time itself, was a man in a 22nd century coalition fleet uniform, an era long before the Ark's launch. He was transparent, eyes vacant, lips moving, soundlessly. Then he turned and looked directly at Clint. "The continuum was fractured by your kind," the man rasped. "You trespassed beyond the quantum veil. You thought the refuge was salvation, but it was a tomb." Clint stepped forward, pulse hammering. "Who are you?" "I was you," the figure said, "or what you were supposed to become." The ghost faded, and in its place, a strange mechanism emerged from the floor. A pedestal with rings spinning in opposing directions, hovering over a dark blue orb that pulsed with light. Bonnie scanned it. "It's a continuum beacon. Read about these fragments of higher dimensional tech. They bridge memories across timelines. This one was triggered by your proximity." Clint approached, hand trembling, and touched the orb. A violent flash suddenly. Clint stood somewhere else. Not aboard the Ark, not even in his body. He was standing on a crystalline plateau under a swirling black sky. Towering spires surrounded him, and in the distance, a shimmering dome floated in the air, the quantum refuge. A sanctuary of impossible physics and collapsing light. Around him, beings of pure quantum structure moved, communicating without words, merging thought and matter. One of them turned to him. Familiar. You left the continuum to save them. But you were rewritten, reborn. Now you remember. Now, return. The vision-shattered Clint collapsed back onto the Ark's cold floor, gasping. Bonnie knelt beside him. What did you see? She asked. He stared into the beacon's dying light. They're calling me back. I was part of them once. I left the continuum to become human. And now, it's all coming undone. Bonnie's face hardened. Then we need to reach the refuge. Before whatever's trapped behind the veil gets out. The ship lurched again. But this time, it wasn't from inside. They had arrived. Outside the viewport, the stars bent and fell. Away. In their place stood the refuge. A massive floating citadel of light and ruin, orbiting the corpse of a collapsed universe, and it was wide open. The nomad Ark 7 hovered in stillness, dwarfed by the monolithic presence ahead, the refuge. A broken cathedral of impossible architecture, floating in the void where no light should exist. Spires curled backward into themselves. Bridges led to nowhere, suspended in folds of space that rippled like silk in slow water. Gravity had no meaning here, nor did time, Clint realized as he stared out the viewport. One corner of the structure decayed before his eyes, crumbling into dust only, to rebuild itself in reverse seconds later. That no ship had ever returned from the refuge. Now, his was knocking on its door. Any signs of life? Clint asked, barely. Above a whisper, Bonnie ran the scans again. No biologicals. But something's watching us. I can feel it. It's like the ship's being read. Then let's give it something to listen to. Clint keyed in a transmission signal. He didn't know what frequency they used, or if they even heard in ways comparable to any species. But he spoke anyway. This is Captain Clint Varro of the Nomad Ark 7. We seek entrance to the quantum refuge, not as conquerors, as answers to your question. The words had no logic. They simply came to him just like the drift glass, just like the beacon. A script written in forgotten dreams. And the refuge answered. A line of light cut through the dark. A circular gate unfolding like a flower, ringed in glyphs that shimmered and bent. The Ark drifted forward as if pulled not by engines, but by intent. The crew fell into silence. Even the hum of the ship seemed subdued, reverent. They passed through the gate. Inside, the rules of reality fractured. The sky above them was not sky, but a deep sphere of rotating reflections, like staring up into the eye of a god remembering its past. Buildings hung upside down. Some drifted horizontally, others blinked in and out of visibility, some never completing their form, as if time had changed its mind mid-creation. The city was alive, but it had no pulse. No sound, not only memory. Clint, Bonnie whispered, her eyes fixed on a structure that resembled a spiraling tower woven from light. That looks like my childhood home, Clint finished for her. I know, I see it too. All across the city, buildings began shaping themselves into forms Clint recognized. A moon he once visited on a recon mission, the marketplace. On Terra 3, where he met his brother, the hallway where he first questioned the Coalition's intentions. His life was being mapped into architecture. It's building the city from you, Bonnie said. From your mind. From who you were. No, he corrected quietly. From who I'm supposed to become. A voice echoed around them, not in the air, but in their bones. "Welcome home, fractured one." Clint turned. A figure stood at the base of a staircase that defied physics, each step suspended by thought alone. The being was neither alien nor human-shaped like a man, but constantly shifting, like a sculpture made of vaporous glass. Clint stepped forward. "You know me," he said. "You were one of us." "Once," the being replied. Its voice was a layered chime like wind chimes through a hurricane, both gentle and terrible. "You chose exile, fragmentation, mortality. Why?" The being tilted its head. "To become the key. The continuum fractured when humanity forced open a gate not meant to be touched. You chose to scatter your essence across time so that when the ark finally arrived, it could find its way here. Back to the source. You are the map." Clint's hands shook. "I don't remember this. You were never meant to. Until now." Bonnie stepped beside him. "And what about the anomalies we saw? The ghost? The beacon? Is it all just Clint's unraveling memory?" The being turned to her. "No, the continuum is bleeding. Something else followed the fracture. Something that feeds on forgotten time." "What does it want?" Clint asked. "Not what. Who?" Behind them, a rift tore through the far end of the refuge. Dark light spilled out, and from its center emerged a figure twisted and serpentine, cloaked in flowing digital decay. Its face was an ever-shifting mask of Clint's memory's mother, enemy, child, killer-all, stitched into a pulsing maw of noise. "It wants you," the being said, "the last piece of the continuum. The Echo King." Clint stepped forward. He didn't feel fear, only purpose. Clint stared into the rift where light died and memory screamed. From its churning blackness, the figure drifted closer, neither walking nor floating, simply unfolding forward. With every inch it drew near, the air around it collapsed inward as if gravity itself feared its presence. It bore no distinct form, only a suggestion of one, like a shadow burned onto a wall after the light had vanished. Faces flickered across its surface. Some Clint recognized, most he didn't. All were him. "Is that?" Bonnie began, stepping back. "Me," Clint said, "or something I could have become." The Echo King emerged fully from the rift, and the temperature in the refuge plummeted. The streets below cracked like ancient glass. The impossible architecture warped under pressure that couldn't be seen, only felt. And it spoke, but not aloud. The voice entered Clint's thoughts like a needle through cloth, threading language with pain, time, and echoes of moments long buried. "Return what was taken." Clint's knees buckled. He gritted his teeth, sweat beading on his forehead. A rush of images assaulted him. The battlefield where he turned his back on the Coalition. The child he failed to protect on Soria 9. The starship he abandoned in orbit over a dying planet. Each regret, each failure, amplified. Bonnie grabbed his arm. "Clint, stay with me." He gasped, steadied himself. It's trying to overwrite me, to pull me into it." The refugee, the guide, stepped between them and the Echo King. "You are not a memory," it said to Clint. "You are a choice made flesh. The continuum fractured because of your defiance, but it also remembers because of it." "They," Echo King hissed, not through sound, but through reality itself. The walls of the city convulsed. Time bent. Whole towers aged into dust and reversed again in seconds. A cascade of light and shadow spiraled upward into the rotating sky dome of the city, revealing strange celestial glyphs. "This place is a prison," the Echo King said. "It must fall. You must fall." "Why?" Clint demanded, stepping forward. "What do you want from me? What am I to you?" "You are the unfinished song, the split harmony. You are what was left behind when gods forgot their names. I want you to remember. I want you to complete me. The words struck like lightning through his chest. Clint, Bonnie said, her voice soft but firm. If it takes you, if it completes itself, what happens to the rest of the universe? The guide answered for him. It becomes singular, unwritten. Every alternate, every possibility folded into one voice. No more choice. Only finality. The Echo King raised its arms. The sky cracked in a spiral above them, and from the break poured not stars, but lives. Alternate versions of Clint, soldier, poet, tyrant, martyr. All of them spiraling into the breach, feeding the king's growing form. It grew wings made of burned history, a crown of failure. Eyes of extinguished futures. The city began to collapse. Bonnie screamed over the roar. Clint, what do we do? Clint looked down at his hands, and then within. The drift glass shard in his chest pulsed, not with light, but with direction. Memory as a compass. He reached into the space between seconds and drew it forth, a blade of pure continuity, forged from every fragment of who he'd been and might still become. He turned to Bonnie. If I don't come back, I'm coming after you. She snapped. They smiled. Then Clint stepped forward and faced himself. The battle wasn't fought with weapons. It was fought with meaning. Each blow the Echo King delivered wasn't a strike. It was a question. Why did you leave? Why did you kill? Why didn't you save them? The blade in Clint's hand shimmered with answers, not perfect ones, but real. Regret, mercy, conviction. Love. Clint struck out, and for a moment, the Echo King bled starlight. You cannot erase me. It howled. No, Clint said, but I can choose not to be you. He drove the blade deep into the king's core, into the echo chamber of himself, and whispered, remember. The rift screamed shut. The city trembled. Then stillness. Clint collapsed, gasping, eyes wide. The guide appeared beside him, kneeling. It is done. Bonnie ran to him. He smiled weakly. I remembered, all of it. You brought the fragments back together, she said. You chose who you are. No, Clint whispered. I chose who I'll become. Above them, the refuge began to sing a sound not of music, but of resonance, of timelines converging without destruction, a harmony reborn. The sun above the refuge was a fractured gem shards of light spilling in unnatural directions, as if time itself had been refracted. Clint stood at the edge of the city now, Bonnie at his side, and the guide drifting a few steps ahead, silent and luminous. The ground beneath them was smooth, metallic, but it pulsed like living skin. The refuge had changed since the Echo King's defeat. Or perhaps he had. They reached a structure unlike any other they had encountered. It was not a door, not a machine, not even a wall. It was an event, a shimmering vertical plane, like a frozen wave of shattered glass, suspended mid-collapse, bending reality around it. Through it, Clint glimpsed a billion flickering worlds, some already dying, others not yet born. This, the guide said solemnly, is the fractured gate, the last interface before the thread point. Clint narrowed his eyes. Thread point? The guide turned to him, its form dimmer, now fainter. Where all potentialities are braided into the tapestry of the prime. It is where you choose which future lives. Bonnie looked uneasy. Sounds like playing God. No, the guide said, voice softening. It's remembering you already did. Clint stepped closer to the gate. The air rippled. With every breath he took, he could feel himself changing. Not physically, existentially. As if with each moment, a different version of himself was brushing past the edges of his mind, whispering fragments of lives he might have led. I see Earth, he whispered. I see it burning, then reborn, then gone. The gate doesn't show what is, the guide explained. It shows what might be, depending on the thread you choose to pull. Bonnie's voice cracked. And if we pull the wrong one? There are no wrong threads, the guide said. Only incomplete weavings. That didn't help. Clint reached out. His fingers brushed the gate, and in that instant, it consumed him. He was falling dot, no dash sliding. Along the skin of time. He moved through layers of existence. His consciousness peeled into echoes. Each echo showed him a different Clint, a warlord in obsidian armor, eyes dead, commanding legions with silent cruelty. A peaceful farmer, tending red crops on a terraformed moon, smiling at a family he'd never met. A rogue agent, hunted by the Coalition, saving a child from a burning wreckage. A forgotten man, lost in the archives of a machine world, writing stories for no one. A martyr, breathing his last beneath the wreckage of the collapsed peace treaty. Each version stared back at him. You've made it this far, one said. But you still don't know what you're choosing. You think this ends with you? It begins with you, he landed, not with a crash, but a pause. A held breath. A singular moment outside causality. Clint stood in a silent chamber, not of stone or metal, but of light and intention. In its center rose a platform, crystalline and immense, shaped like an infinity symbol broken in the center dot, and on that broken center stood a woman. She turned slowly. Her eyes were pure white. Her body shimmered like it was formed from the surface of the gate itself. Clint, she said, I've been waiting. He stepped forward, wary. Who are you? I'm what remains of the original continuum. The first thread. I am what you would have been, had the great severing never happened. You're me, she nodded. The version that stayed loyal. That obeyed. That ensured no mind ever questioned the order of time. Clint stared. So you're the villain? No, she said. I'm the cost. And you're about to choose whether I was worth paying. Suddenly the chamber shifted. The floor beneath Clint erupted with scenes, millions of them, showing timelines branching from his next decision. In some, Earth was swallowed by war. In others, it never existed. Some timelines birthed hope. Others bred gods. One showed Bonnie, dying on a derelict station. Another showed her replacing him as the Threadwalker. Bonnie's voice echoed in his mind. If you fall, I'm coming after you. The woman stepped aside. You must walk the broken line. Take the strand of possibility. And choose. He approached the crystalline platform dot. It split before him into 3 strands, each pulsating with a different energy. Red, the thread of power. Earth survives. Humanity thrives. But the cost is total control. Free will sacrificed for safety. Blue, the thread of chance. Freedom remains, but chaos reigns. Earth fragments. Civilizations rise and fall by whim. Silver, the thread of memory. A fragile path. Earth is lost. But the memory of it seeds a better galaxy one born from. Sorrow, not domination. Clint closed his eyes. The Echo King still echoed within him. The weight of every mistake, every victory, every scream he couldn't silence. He touched the silver thread. I choose remembrance. He whispered. The chamber exploded in light. Not destruction, but release. The echoes faded. The gate shattered. Not in ruin, but in fulfillment. Its duty was complete. Clint awoke on the threshold. Bonnie knelt beside him, tears in her eyes. You're back. Clint, you... Behind him, the gate dissolved into stardust. The guide smiled, its form unraveling. The thread is chosen. The future breathes anew. What happens now? Clint asked, voice hoarse. You walk it, the guide said. Not alone. It vanished out above them. The sky turned silver. Not from storm or machine, but from promise. Clint took Bonnie's hand. They walked away from the ruins of the gate toward the world that needed to be built from memory, not myth.